And welcome back, everybody, to Doctor Who, a podcast in space and time. I'm Holden B. Huffman.
I'm Kendal Coffee.
Ooh, you faded in there.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm Kendal Coffee.
There we go. And today we are discussing Series 1, Episode 13, The Parting of the Ways. So I have a theory about this season of Doctor Who and the way they titled some of their episodes.
You know, I think I'm thinking the same thing. I think there's a really strong thread here kind of dealing with like the three little piggies and like, you know, you can see kind of the Doctor symbolic as the piggy who builds the brick house, and you see Rose as symbolic as the piggy that builds the wooden house. And then oh wait, which one's the big bad wolf? Because this is what confused me. In the episode, Rose is the big bad wolf, but like symbolically you would think it would be the Dalek Emperor. So what are your thoughts on that?
First off, it's not that. At first I'm like, dude, you're just jumping in on my idea, my theory, and you're taking credit for it, and then you just started talking about the three little piggies. I'm like, oh my gosh.
That probably would have been a much funnier joke to make last episode, but anyway, yeah. Go on with your theory.
Thanks for that. No, my theory is because they weren't expecting, when they wrote the episodes and everything, they weren't expecting to get a new Doctor at the end of this season.
Mm-hmm.
Because that wasn't decided until like probably halfway through filming, just because of the disagreements with Christopher Eccleston having with the BBC and everything. So
Right.
That was a later decided factor. So, and some of the episode titles just don't make sense. Like this one is called The Parting of the Ways, which is in reference to David Tennant being Barty Crouch Jr. in The Goblet of Fire.
Right, yeah.
Which didn't come out until later this year, but obviously he had already been cast as Barty Crouch Jr. beforehand and had been filming it beforehand, because these things take a long time.
Right, yeah. And specifically, it's in reference to the penultimate chapter of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, when Barty Crouch Jr. is captured.
Mm-hmm. And so, because last episode, it didn't make sense for the last episode to be called Bad Wolf. It just, they barely mentioned it.
Yeah, this should have been the episode called Bad Wolf. That's one thing we talked about.
Because it was so heavily talked about. It was revealed what Bad Wolf was. And yeah, it just makes so much more sense for this episode to be called Bad Wolf.
Yeah, and you mentioned while we were watching that the previous episode should have been called The Long Game, which...
Right.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And the Doctor actually used that turn of phrase in that episode.
Right, because someone has been playing the long game of sitting and waiting and guiding humanity through hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make... And again, the actual episode, The Long Game, with Simon Pegg, that title makes zero sense for that episode.
It makes some kind of sense, I guess, but yeah, it doesn't seem nearly as fitting as this episode. I mean, or not this episode, but the previous episode. Sorry, we're doing two in a row, so it's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have made a lot more sense for the previous episode than this one, to call it The Long Game, and then call the one with Simon Pegg
something else. I don't know. Maybe the Alien Zit.
Alien Zit, call it that.
Or Adam Mitchell Sucks.
Yeah.
No, it just doesn't make sense. And I mean, like, the big thing, like I said, the biggest thing is the fact that this episode is called The Parting of the Ways. And I'm like, they wouldn't have done that if it weren't for David Tennant.
Yeah. I mean, if it was a coincidence, it was a very big coincidence, but I don't think it was.
Right. Like, all you Whovians that go into the nitty-gritty interviews of, like, Russell T Davies, I do for some, but I've not read everything.
Yeah. If you have, like, the deep lore on whether or not this was intentionally a Harry Potter reference.
Right. Like, no, I have heard that it was a Harry Potter reference.
Oh, okay, so it specifically was, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what
I did hear that. But I mean about everything else, about the title changes for the other episodes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because that makes a whole lot more sense to me.
Yeah, it feels like it feels like those two titles were shifted, and then this title was added, and then whatever the long game was called originally was just dropped.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. That's my theory on it.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. I think that makes sense. Yeah, this is a great episode. I think a great season finale.
Definitely.
I think as far as like Doctor final episodes go, this is honestly like the one that was kind of the least about the Doctor's death.
Yeah, because again,
and I think that's something
planned.
Right, yeah. And that's something we'll talk about in the spoiler section. But yeah, it did feel like that was, they kind of had this episode idea in mind already, and then they had to like come up with something to happen to the Doctor, which, not to say that it feels like tacked on or rushed in any way, but
right, it feels
very different. It feels very different than the other Doctor finale episodes, and in some ways that's not a bad thing.
Right.
I do really like this as an episode of like kind of the Doctor not really being alone, but kind of like in a way the Doctor is like at the end of his rope, is trying to, or thinking of making a very desperate choice, basically choosing between do I
destroy all of humanity and the Daleks, or do I let Daleks enslave and mutate the human race?
Yeah, and it's it's one of those impossible choices that we see the Doctor having to make many times over. But I think it's done really well here. Like you can really, you really feel the Doctor's struggle, and we know the Doctor well enough at this point to understand like this is this is basically the Doctor reliving the Time War all over again.
Yeah, exactly. Like this isn't getting into spoiler territory because it's been mentioned that he specifically did it.
Yeah, we know at this point what happened in the Time War, and this is that same choice all over again, but this time he chooses
to not do it.
Yeah, I love the line.
No, I won't.
I love the line in that moment when he's about to pull the lever, and the Dalek Emperor says,
"Oh, also, just sorry. There's going to be a lot of external noises for this episode, so I just want to apologize for that real quick." So, yeah, continue.
Yeah, when he's about to pull the lever, and the Dalek Emperor says, "What are you, coward or killer?" and the Doctor lets go of the lever and says, "Coward any day."
Yeah, I had those two lines written down as well.
That's such a good moment. Yeah, it really,
it's parallel to the solo Dalek episode.
Yeah,
because like he was just about to do it.
Yeah, and I think we really see an arc for the Doctor, and I think that's one advantage to the way New Who started, kind of kind of coming off of the Time War, I thought in a way it was very clever for them to do it that way. We're not just jumping into the same Doctor we know, because that's a Doctor who really doesn't have anywhere to go as a character. Whereas, this Doctor, a post-war Doctor, a post, genocide Doctor, really has a new story to tell, a new arc to travel along, and something to learn. And I think we really see some nice character progression with the Doctor in the season.
And you mentioned just a few minutes ago about the Doctor regenerating, and there not really being much of a build up to it.
Yeah.
There's been that happened once in classic Who. I'm pretty sure it's happened once, just once, like even worse than this, because it was Colin Baker's Doctor, the 6th Doctor, his regeneration into the 7th. It was because there was a producer there that literally hated Doctor Who at the time. Like, he despised the show, and so he went out of his way to try to destroy the show. And that's kind of a reason why the show stopped there for a while.
Interesting.
And like he straight up hated Colin Baker. I could be wrong about this. This is what I've seen on the internet, so I don't know. This is what I've read and heard, though.
Yeah, so maybe take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, take it with a grain of salt. And that, like, he just straight up fired Colin Baker because he didn't like him. And
considering the drama that has existed throughout, like, Doctor Who's run, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if that was true.
Right. And because of that, Colin Baker didn't even show up to his own regeneration scene.
Yeah.
They had to get the 7th Doctor, Sylvester McCoy, dressed up in that outfit with a wig.
Yeah,
it's
like it's like that gag, and it's in Avatar: The Last Airbender, but it's been in other shows where you have the dude who's like wearing one hat, and then he like ducks down behind the counter and puts on a different hat and pretends to be somebody else.
Yeah, no, I've been watching The Sweet Life on Deck.
Yeah.
The sequel show to The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and there was a character like that. I remember.
Yeah, it's like that, but like, with I guess a wig.
Yeah. We got more info on the Time War.
A little bit, yeah.
And also, to all you classic Who fans, did the Dalek Emperor exist during that time period?
The design didn't feel like something from classic Who. It felt like
that's what I was thinking.
It felt like something from 2004, 2005.
That's what I was thinking, but I mean, like, it could have had a different design at the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I would almost think in a way like it probably did exist in some capacity. Did the Doctor recognize the Dalek Emperor? Yeah,
he said, "Rose, meet the Emperor of the Daleks."
Okay, so maybe it is the classic Who thing.
I'm not sure. I know of this other character that existed then. You know who I'm talking about, but we're in the non-spoiler section, so I'm not getting into it.
Yeah. Either that, or maybe that was like, maybe it was someone he met during the Time War. I don't know.
A line I liked, or something, just driven mad by your own flesh.
Yeah, I thought that was really interesting. I enjoyed the whole idea of like sort of the Daleks.
They survived the Time War, and so they're like, "Whoa, we survived this. We're immortal. That must mean we're immortal."
And almost like a Dalek sort of having a god complex. I thought that was interesting.
It is different,
though. Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. And just like Daleks being kind of created from the remains of humans, and the Doctor kind of pointing out that, like, well, doesn't that kind of make you what was the word he said?
It was no, Rose said, "So they're human," and then the Dalek Emperor said, "That is blasphemy." And then the doctor
she
said,
said half human, yeah.
And so the doctor said, "Since when does the Daleks have a sense of blasphemy?"
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm. And one moment I really enjoyed, like there was the doctor's, when they went back into the TARDIS and the doctor's head was just leaning against the TARDIS doors in dismay while the whole Dalek army is yelling, "Exterminate, exterminate, exterminate."
Yeah, I thought that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked, there was a scene where Jackie and Rose were talking about like, Rose has this like kind of crazy plan, and Jackie was like against it, but Rose was like, this was something Dad would have done. And they kind of have this fight over it, like, because Jackie, that's her daughter. She like wants to protect her, but Rose, like,
right,
she's wanting to save the doctor, and I thought it was just like really good acting from both Billie Piper and Camille. How do you say her last name?
I don't know.
Kaduri. Anyway, I'm sorry, Camille, for mispronouncing your last name, but like really good. Just really like they made you feel the emotions of that moment so much. And I don't know, I thought it was just a great scene.
It was a nice emotional scene, and almost a character arc with Jackie.
Yeah, I think
I hate this man, and now she's like, he's wonderful because he did the right I hate this man, but right now I love him because he brought you back home to me.
Yeah, I thought that was really good line.
And
also, I don't know.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
We talked about it before, but yeah, I've definitely like really related to Jackie in this watch through a whole lot more than in the past. Like I think I don't know, she's a very understandable character, even if I don't always agree with her. Like I always kind of get where she's coming from.
Okay, where's my money? Money. Are you my money? Where's my money? Sorry,
I don't think that was meant to be like a reference.
I know it.
But it was really fun. It was really funny the way he said it. It felt very similar.
It is. Also, just the doctor sending Rose home to keep her safe. We touched on that.
Yeah, that was a very.
I have more to say. I have more to say on that in the spoiler section. Also, did the doctor just have Did the doctor have the hologram of himself programmed to be able to figure out wherever Rose is standing in the TARDIS, to be able to turn the head and be able to directly look at her?
I mean, I guess since like, because we kind of see something similar to this later, but I guess like because it was recorded by the TARDIS and the TARDIS is like alive, I would think like in some way the TARDIS like was.
I'll give you that.
Yeah, like I don't think it was just a hologram. I don't think that really makes sense for something the TARDIS would record for it to just be a hologram.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Let's see.
Also, another anime flashback scene.
We did get another anime flashback scene. I was gonna say about the TARDIS hologram thing. I thought it was funny that we got a if you're reading this, it means I'm dead kind of message, you know? Like,
right.
I don't think this was the worst example of it, but this is definitely one of my least favorite tropes in stories. Is like, there's always that message, like, if you're reading this, or if you're watching this, or if you're seeing this, it means I'm dead. And it's like, okay, well, when did you record this? Like, why did you record this?
Right. And like, there's one example I'm thinking of that I accept it. Avengers Endgame. with
You'll have
Tony.
to remind me because it's been a little bit.
Okay.
Oh,
Tony Tony recorded a message, but I understand why he did it.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. Yeah, that one does make sense.
Mm-hmm. Because he knew this is the Avengers. Like we've had 20-ish films leading up to this moment. He knows what could happen.
Yeah.
He knows diving into this, he could not make it. And so he goes ahead and does this. And he has we know he has the capabilities of doing this. So he does it.
It just makes me wonder if like the Doctor has one of these recorded for every single companion. Like, Martha, if you're reading this, it means I'm dead. Donna, if you're hearing this, it means I'm dead. Like, for every companion that comes along, he just records one of these. Like, first
and
thing.
then Donna's like, oh, brilliant. I'm stuck here in somewhere. Sorry. That's my Donna.
With a hologram doctor.
That's my Donna impression. And then David
can't even be bothered to be here in person.
And then even the hologram would have a reaction to that just because he knows she'd say something like that. Sorry.
Like, oi, I'm doing my best here.
Sorry, little Doctor Who fanfic. I love the android being used to help fight the Daleks.
I thought that was such a funny moment. Very good. Yeah, I just loved like the android in general. Like her design was very good. I liked kind of the weird, like just the way they were stylized. I thought was very funny.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, the Dalek on the other side of the window observation deck. Mm-hmm. Like you see it say exterminate. You can't hear it, but you know exactly what it's saying. Like, and the way the lights emit from its antennas, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't really know what they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, the weird light things.
Mm-hmm. Like it's like lip reading. You know what it is.
Yeah. I know we've joked about women catching on fire for the Doctor in the past, but like there's quite a bit of women dying for the Doctor in this episode.
Also, Jack is dead.
I can't believe Jack dies in this one.
For those of you who don't listen to our spoiler section, that joke's gonna make no sense.
You'll get that joke eventually.
Yeah.
Maybe. If you ever go back and re-listen to our nonsense.
Right. I don't know why you would, but
I don't know why you would. Also, like this episode is a good example of, I think we might have talked about it in the Dalek episode, but like when you have one Dalek, they're really dangerous. When you have many Daleks, they just like they can't shoot anything, they can't hit anything. They're just like not a threat at all, except for as a force. And I think like this episode's bad for it, but I think Doctor Who gets worse and worse as we go for it.
They really do.
But yeah, I thought that was
like the
funny.
Dalek. Sorry, go ahead.
There was one moment where one of the dogs had like a really easy shot.
It was the one that
completely missed it.
It's the one that got absorbed into the TARDIS with Rose.
Yeah.
Like you're right there.
Yeah. How do you miss that?
Right.
I also just loved the TARDIS materializing around Rose. I always love it when the show does that.
Yeah, I do.
Anytime the TARDIS materializes around someone it's just very good.
There was an episode in the recent season of Doctor Who. We were both watching it together for the very first time. Yeah. And we were thinking, why don't you do that? Why don't you do that? Like, why don't you do that? If they don't do that, this episode is dead to me.
I was going to be so mad if the Doctor did not materialize around this person who was like going to their death.
Right. We were just both ranting like, if they don't do it, they
were
did
yelling
it.
At the screen.
They did it. But it was very close. So props to, I don't remember who the writer was for that episode, but props to you for making us think you weren't going to do it and then doing it. That was good. That was good. Can we talk about the line, I think you need a doctor?
Oh my god! Like this season has had some very cheesy moments.
I need to be naked.
But that was definitely like, and I think sometimes it does it intentionally. But that was definitely one of those moments where it was very cheesy, and I don't think they meant for it to be.
Honest Trailers made a joke about that. Of like, it's like a Spanish
like a Spanish soap opera.
Spanish soap opera. So true. That line sounds like it came from a Spanish soap opera.
I'm very sorry if I think you need a doctor is your favorite Doctor Who line. But...
well, those who shipped the Doctor and Rose, I doubt it because they really just ship them with David Tennant.
Oh, I ship Rose with Eccleston.
I do too. Really. I really do. Well, really?
I don't know. You know, well, in a way, I do think like they have a chemistry that I don't think you quite see with like Tennant and Rose have a very different chemistry, and I don't think it's quite the same.
Right. Well, let's not get into that too much because that is more spoilers.
That is spoilers. Sorry.
Yeah. Good going.
But yeah, it's a very different chemistry with them. And I don't know. Yeah. It's one of the things that definitely makes me miss as much as I love David Tennant. I do. There are moments when I miss Eccleston.
Okay. That's all the notes I have before we get back into the TARDIS after the Bad Wolf moment, and I kind of want to give that its own section because it's a regeneration scene. So do you have any other notes prior to when they get back into the TARDIS?
Yeah, my last note was I just really loved Jackie pulling up in that big truck. I don't really have anything interesting to say about that, but I just thought it was very funny.
Right. It is very funny, just her pulling up that big old tow truck.
Also a great episode for anyone who ships Jack with the Doctor.
Yeah, right.
And then immediately a very disappointing episode for all those people because then he goes and kisses Rose. But
well, he kisses Rose first and then the Doctor.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Well, you know, all you Jack Doctor shippers, you'll have to watch and see.
Yep.
And be disappointed. I'm sorry.
Right. And we've talked about this before in the past. You and I have talked about it. We both think each particular Doctor has a certain sexuality.
In a way, I think it's hard to say because like the writers haven't really confirmed one way or the other, but there are definitely Doctors like, you know,
that seems like, I mean, I don't mean to take it into stereotypes and everything.
Yeah. Eccleston like reads to me as maybe a little more like bisexual or pansexual, whereas like you know, Matt Smith maybe a little more asexual, but like I'm with you there. I don't want to like, you know, just assume based off of like small moments, but I think each Doctor does seem to like be a little bit different in regards to their sexuality.
Right. Okay,
so,
enough of that.
Yeah. I don't really know what
I don't want to get too much into that. I don't want to offend anyone.
Yeah.
So that's all you have prior TARDIS regeneration moments?
Yeah, that's what I've got.
Okay, except Jack's alive. He's back.
Jack is alive.
Yeah. Okay, so a couple things. First off, when Rose is waking up, and when the Doctor just looks at his hand, like you see Rose in the background still talking, but then the camera kind of, I'm not a filmmaker, so I don't know the technicalities of what it's called, where the camera kind of alters its focus. The focusing alters from Billie Piper onto Eccleston.
Yeah.
And and then he gets this gloom look on his face, and then the camera pans down to his hand. And you see the bits of regeneration starting to show.
Yeah, and we're not filmmakers, so we don't really talk about the cinematography of this show very often. But yeah,
I do to the best of my abilities because I have shot and filmed some short films. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, right.
We're not getting into that.
Right. We're not like pro filmmakers, I guess.
No.
I thought that was a very good shot.
Right. Mm-hmm. Like, I would like to be a filmmaker, like more as a side project, really. Like, just more like short films for me personally.
Right. Yeah.
Just things I would like to do.
You don't want to go and make a blockbuster, but
no. And like, I have ideas and everything, and I would like help make the ideas happen. But I don't want to be the director for that. Now, I would like to direct something on stage. I'm more of a stage guy. So I'm more of a stage actor than I am a film actor. There's a difference. I don't know what it is. Different. Sorry, we're getting into acting, not Doctor Who. And you know what, guys? Just tell us in the comments if you actually like these tangents or not.
You know what? No. I don't care. We're going to keep going on our tangents.
Okay.
Whether you like it or not.
Okay.
Listen.
Disregard what I said.
No, I mean, like, I get it if, like, going on weird tangents isn't your thing. I'm sure there are other shows that, like, keep things a lot tighter, but this is just how our brains work. We just,
exactly.
Both of us just, like, our brains just operate in that way where, like, think of one thing and then it connects to another thing, and
right.
We'll get back to it eventually. We always kind of bring it back around. But,
we do. And then just I love what the Doctor's final words are in this. You were absolute rose, Tyler. I just wanted to tell you you were fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And you know what? So was I.
Yeah, I think we've talked about in the past, like, there are moments where 9 uses the word fantastic and it doesn't quite seem to fit, but in that moment, in those lines, like, it was the perfect word. Like, it was exactly the right word to capture that feeling.
It definitely was.
Yeah, great line and great again. We talk about Eccleston's acting a lot, but again, a great moment of acting from him. That's kind of I feel like that's a little bit of a difficult line to deliver and make it feel genuine. And he does it very well.
Also, no, sorry, that's a spoiler note.
Okay.
Oh yeah, that's all I've got now is just spoiler notes, except for the fact that this is the first regeneration of Doctor Who, of New Who.
Yeah. Okay, well, let's get into spoilers.
Spoiler warning.
You want to go again?
No, I regenerated. Oh,
you regenerated and your voice just got way worse.
Gee, thanks. Okay, my first.
Sorry, I don't mean to voice shame.
What?
I don't mean to voice shame.
My first spoiler note is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. Is Rose being sent home. It happens again in the Time of the Doctor, where Matt sends Clara home twice because she's stubborn.
Yeah. Oh, Clara. Yeah, I thought it was very, very well done here. But yeah, it's definitely not the last time we see it. I feel like, does it happen again? I feel like it happens one other time, maybe.
No.
Or am I crazy?
You're crazy.
Well, that's beside the point.
Oh, no, it does happen. And the Timeless Children.
Oh, yeah. Let's not talk about that right now.
Hey, you were asking when it happened.
Yeah.
It's your fault this time, Kendal.
You're right.
Okay, yeah. Okay, the Delta Wave will kill humans, Daleks, by your hand, blah, blah, blah. It's such a great parallel to the day of the Doctor.
Yeah. I'm wondering if, like, because obviously Davies came up with, like, the Time War and, you know, the fact that the Doctor, like, ends the Time War and kills both the Time Lords and the Doctors. I wonder if what he had in mind was something, like, akin to the Delta Wave. You know, was it like what in his mind, was it like what we saw in the 50th special? You know, like,
it's possible because in the end of time where the Time Lords return, like when in part 2 of the end of time when the Time Lords return, they're talking about the Doctor and they mention the moment.
Okay.
In that episode, they're like, "What of the Doctor? He still possesses the moment." So, like, there's a hint towards what it is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and Davies, that was Davies' last episode too. So,
right.
I don't know.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it would have had to been something like, I guess it would have had to been something like the Delta Wave, where in a way it was inevitable that whatever it was would kill both the Time Lords or the Daleks, or both the Time Lords and the Daleks, because otherwise, you know, if the Doctor at the time had seen any way around it, he would have done something differently.
Well, he technically did, so.
Well, yeah, later.
Wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey.
Right, you know. But that version of the Doctor at that moment in time, you know, really saw no other way around it. So it had to have been something similar to what we see here, you know, something that's, like, going to not just destroy one or the other, it's going to destroy both.
Right.
In a way that's, like, going to be inescapable. Or so we think.
Right. And I've only really got one more spoiler note.
Okay.
I kind of want to save it for last, so I'm going to let you finish up with yours.
Okay. One note I had, it wasn't really a spoiler for Doctor Who, but I guess it's a spoiler for Avengers Endgame.
Dude, we've already talked about it.
Yeah.
They know Tony's dead now.
Did we say that? Okay, well, this is another spoiler then, I guess. But when there was a moment where
we made it.
I wanted the Dalek Emperor when Rose emerges from the TARDIS. You know,
it was because of them turning to dust.
Yeah, when she, like, basically starts turning the Daleks to dust.
And I made the reference, "Darn it, Thanos!" I'm like, no, wait, that's more of an Iron Man moment.
Right. Yeah, and I wanted the Dalek Emperor to be like, "I am inevitable," and Rose to be like, "And I am Bad Wolf." I thought it would have been very good.
Yeah.
Also, the other thing I was going to say was, like, we talked about this as, like, the sort of least built up regeneration, but it was also kind of the least dramatic regeneration of New Who.
It's true.
Because, like, with Tennant, we see, like, basically the entire TARDIS explodes.
And same with Capaldi. In a way, the TARDIS doesn't explode until Jodie comes. But
yeah, and Matt Smith basically spends, like, the entire episode regenerating. So, like, in comparison, this one
and Capaldi,
yeah,
spends the entire episode regenerating.
So in comparison, this episode feels like a lot, just a lot less dramatic. I don't really know how else to say it.
Yeah, no, I understand. Like, there's a way of, like, just regenerate already. But then also when you see this, it's just like that came out of nowhere. Like,
I feel like there
needs to be a mutual ground.
Yeah, there's a balance somewhere that I don't think Doctor Who has quite struck as far as regenerations go. I don't think, you know, the Doctor needs to spend an entire episode regenerating, but this one was very quick. And it may just be in contrast. Like, I don't know how it would have felt for the people watching originally, but I'm sure it probably
they did know it was going to happen because it had already been announced beforehand that David Tennant would be replacing him.
Yeah, that's all I've got.
Okay, my last spoiler note, and it's not really a spoiler, it's just going to be getting into more of my personal history with Doctor Who, but I started Doctor Who with Series 5, so it's just going to get a little wibbly wobbly. Going, like, we both started off with Matt Smith as our doctors. He was both our first Doctor. And I eventually went back and rewatched Doctor Who, like watched the earlier episodes of New Who, like with Eccleston, Tennant, and then continue on with Capaldi and Whittaker.
Right.
But for some reason, this time going into it, I think it's because I'm going into it with someone else. It feels a lot more personal than it has previously.
Yeah. And I think in a way, part of that is probably just because, like, and I felt the same way, I didn't feel that much of a connection to this season the first time I watched it, but I think like I've watched so much Doctor Who now and like rewatched and I'm so familiar with it. Like I think that just like being so familiar with it now at this point, it makes it feel a lot more personal.
Or maybe it's just because The Timeless Children was just so bad that we're literally grasping for anything else.
I'm grasping for anything. Anything that feels like the real Doctor. Anything that, like, any decisions the Doctor would make that feel like things the Doctor would actually do,
Right. Okay, well, that's all I have, and that's all you have. So next time, we will not be doing the Christmas Invasion, the first Christmas special of Doctor Who. Next time, we're going to do a series overview, review just like the series as a whole, and rank every episode in the series of like from our least favorite to our favorite of the series.
Yes.
So join us next time. Bye. Get out of here. New teeth. That's weird.
Go on out. Get on out now.
Barcelona.